when we're talking about building, right, and balancing vendor application to in-house building, right? I think I'll classify it under two tiers, right? First tier being the primary, and maybe second tier being the things that you also cannot avoid. For the first tier, I'll put things like time, cost, skill, and security, right? For time, it would be that, okay, do I have as much time, right, to build what I want to build, right? Can my product or what I'm building, right, can it be delayed for this amount of period, right? So think about things like, let's say, for example, like a startup, right? I'm trying to launch in 5 or 6 months, right? Would I spend time building? I think right now, a lot of organizations use like payment infrastructure, right? Would I spend time building that as opposed to using something that already exists? So if you don't have as much time, I think you might as well, I mean, be more concerned with like integrating with some trusted partners, right? I'll take security in the sense that for what I'm doing, is it data sensitive, right? Can this information be moved out? Is it something that needs to remain in my domain? Do I need to share it with a third party? And even if I'm building like with a third party, can I trust the third party enough, right? Do they have enough licenses? Do they follow like enough regulations to be able to hold my data in its most secure form? I would say skill, right? As an organization, do I have the skill set to build out some of these things I need to do? I mean, business is pretty much like you do a lot of things, right? And I don't think at any point in time you can run away from from using vendors, right? But do I have enough skill set and manpower to do the things that I think that I want to do, right? And because skill automatically cascades to cost, right? Because if we're talking about skill, you need to get people that are subject level experts, right? And is that something that I have, right? If it's not something I have, am I better off like looking for people that already do these things and I can just leverage on, right? Another thing I'll mention is cost in terms of weigh the cost of building to the cost of maintenance. And sometimes, more often than not, it might be cheaper to build, right? And it might not be, in the sense that if I build, I probably will not pay maintenance cost for a long period of time. But it could go both ways, right? I might need to have on-prem engineers that will need to manage these things, right? So it also depends on your like business model or your business, like your business use case. So yeah, I think those are some of the things, some of the considerations that I would put on that like tier one. So tier two would be things like let's think about ownership and flexibility. In terms of ownership, how much of these things how much of these things do I need to like leave on my, like I think I also mentioned it somewhere, do I need to leave on my environment, right? Do I want to be sharing this information with third party? Do I want to be doing this kind of third-party integration where more like a bidirectional, I send you some data, you provide me some updated information. These things that I'm really interested in doing, or is this something I can even afford to do, right? Based on my business model or based on the industry I find myself in. So yeah, and then flexibility as well in terms of how flexible is it? How easy can I extend my system, right? If I'm building in-house, it's probably easier to have like a product team and we're like, you know what, we are building feature 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 within this period of time. For some vendors, it might be a bit harder. And a typical situation would be, I'll give you an example of like Moniepoint, right? We built our own core banking. And in that sense, we pretty much own the core banking, right? And then it's more flexible because if we need to do something, we don't need to pretty much have like a downtime because we are changing core banking. cannot do any form of assessment or anything without first doing like thorough research and analysis, right? And a good point would be to, let's say, start from your financial and budget analysis. You know, what risk am I at, right? Integrating with this third party, how much the long-term cost, right? Think of it as a small business. I'm starting out small. I have small funds, maybe 50,000 pounds or 50,000 USD, right? Having to integrate with a lot of vendors would mean that, hey, I need to pay a lot of maintenance costs, right? And at this point of my business, am I able to afford to do that? Right. So those are that's one thing, right? You need to just do long-term projections. Okay, how much am I paying on this? What's the ROI? Am I making any money from even using this third-party solution, right? So is there a form of revenue or income coming in for us as an organization and all of that? So you really need to like consider things like that. You need to consider security and compliance. In sense that the third party I'm trying to use, like, are they regulated, or are they regulated to perform these actions, right, in the country they are in, right? Are they licensed to do things like that? Is my company at detriment by even integrating with this third-party solution, right? Even just because we're in affiliation, there's even a challenge. There's some form of risk that my company is exposed to all my customers or my businesses, right? You need to also assess like the risk and scalability as well. Can these companies grow with my ever-changing needs? Think about it as you start as a small business, right? I'm processing 100 requests per day, and all of a sudden, my business grows, I scale, right? Is my vendor scaling as fast as I am scaling? I'm now processing 100 million records, and then my vendor can't process it because I've scaled way ahead of my vendor. So you need to, sort of look at things like that. You want to be with guys that you sort of, when you're doing things like this, you have meetings, you set out SLAs, and you can easily tell, like, okay, this is a big player in the game and this person knows what he's doing. And with my growing needs, it's very easy for them to grow as well. And with my ever-changing needs, it's easy as well for them to give me new things. Like, I need new APIs. Is it possible for my vendors to be able to easily come up with something that sort of like, are we growing together? Basically, like, let's put it that way. Another thing would be availability. Will you say that will you say, in the sense of availability, let me put it this way, will how available, right, is at this, like, the vendors or whoever I'm trying to partner with? If there's a challenge right now, right? Is this vendor known for always being there to help out and see through and see that, your business operations are restored back to normal? Are they easy to reach out to? I'm sure that if you've dealt with vendors, you don't always have, 100% great vendors, right? You even have some vendors that don't even want to support you. And even if you pay them to support you, they don't want to support you, right? So you need to be sure that, hey, is this person going to be there for me when I need them, right? And it's not really a set in stone. You just need to do your homework, right? Hey, have you used this person? Just talk around. Like, you need to do word on the word on the streets. Like we'll say, people need to be able to vouch for those vendors. It depends on at what point you are as a business, right? And for this, I would also break it into maybe, let's say three tiers or three stages, right? First stage being early stage. Let's think about incubation stage. At this point in time, you have the leverage to think a little bit more about you've not done anything. What will my foundation be like, right? You build with flexibility in mind, like, okay, in the future, right? Let's take a good example, which is, yeah, doing like payments, right? And you have like payment providers. At this point in time, you don't want you start thinking, okay, what happens if this payment provider goes down? How do I build like pretty much a flexible and resilient architecture that can allow me easily switch over, like cut over to a different provider in case something happens, right? How can my system automatically recover? Because my business cannot crash because a vendor, goes down, right? So that's one thing I think is very, very important at that point in time. Second stage would be middle stage, consideration stage, right? Okay, yes, we are here now, right? Right. We are here now. We've gotten a vendor. Business is going well. But our cost is skyrocketing. What do we do? Right? What can we do? Um, yeah, this is the point where you now start thinking of, okay, you need a clear migration plan, right? Let's say I'm using vendor A and I plan to move to vendor B. What needs to be done? What are the risk analysis I need to do, right? Or that will enable me move easily in this sense, like what kind of data migration will need to be done, if any needs to be done, right? How will it take place? How long will it take? What is the benefit of even moving it? Is the long-term cost, is the current cost going to be cheaper, and then long-term cost is going to be more? Why not do that proper evaluation? I might move now and they're offering me, let's say, $50 per month. And as my data grows, their costs increases, right? It's not like because you have 600 records, you start paying, excuse me, $80 per month, right? Whereas your previous vendor was not, charging you that. Your vendor was just like, so I'm charging you a flat fee, and whatnot, right? So it's some of those things like you might want to consider, because you might end up moving and then your cost actually still keeps skyrocketing and you don't really save any form of cost, right? Third stage, I would say final stage, not really final stage, but towards like you are here now. We've done this. We've built a good architecture. I've considered I have a clear migration plan. Everything is on point. Data migration, if we move to this person, they'll save us like $2 million in 2 years. Okay, now we are planning to move, right? What do we think of? You need to think of your clear. When we move, right, you need to be sure that there's a clear testing and maintenance phase, right? You need to have that. Like that plan needs to be there. When it's all said and done, will my customers still be able to log in, and will they still be able to view their data, right? Will everything be okay? Will payments or things be moving as smooth as possible? Would I have as much support as I need from this vendor at every point in time? You just need to like consider those things, right? And just think about, just weigh the pros and the cons, and you're like, figure out like a balance, which one really works for you and your use case, and then your business use case at that point in time. I don't think you can run it from vendors, right? You just need to figure out like the right vendor and the person that pretty much supports your business as much as you want. A good practice would be, set out clear expectations, right? Um, as a vendor, let's say example, I have vendor A and B, right? I need to set out like there needs to be an SLA as to I'm giving you 100 requests. You need to guarantee me 99% uptime, right? You need to guarantee 99% success rate or 99% uptime, right? Those are some of the things that you need to put in place, like set out clear expectations. These are the things we want. These are the things we want to do. If you are going against this is what happens. First have that in check, right? So that everybody, in case anything goes south, right, everybody knows who did not did not conform or who went against like an agreement. Another one would be establish a clear communication channel. What's the best way we can reach out? Like what are the hotlines we need? If things are if it's a P0 or a P1 issue, which is in terms of priority, which one is very hot? Like it needs to be sorted now. And if we reach out to this person, the person will get us sorted. More like top level support, right? Have like periodic meetings, just for realignments in case things are not going well. You need to do this, right? We agreed on 99% uptime. We're seeing 80% uptime. What's going on? Set clear expectations so that people know where they are going wrong and can easily like backtrack and fix whatever issues they have. Foster collaborative partnerships, in the sense that always look at the upside of your vendors, right? In the sense, an example would be, okay, maybe my vendors currently provides this service to me, service A, BVN validations, right? Later on, they could be providing NIN validations. You get what I mean? You need to start thinking of using vendors that are forward thinking. And you're like, okay, these are the things that we are doing right now. If the world shifts to a particular direction, we start doing like some form of AI validation. This vendor, I don't need to go and engage another vendor. This vendor already has this service. I have a feeling this vendor will build this service and I can easily like plug into it, right? Another thing would be just kind of collaborations too with vendors is, as even as a vendor, right? You need to start thinking about your customers, right? Let's say, for example, I start processing 100,000 naira a day, and you're giving me maybe a concession or let's say a cashback of 1,000 naira because I hit 100,000, right? By the time I start doing 10 million, right, I feel like, hey, we need to start having discussions as to how you can give me, if you're still giving me 1,000, yes, that's fine. But I know that after a while, we need to start having discussions as to, hey, I'm bringing in this amount of money in, right? I should be getting, so that's kind of collaborations, right? You need to have that environment sort of in check. Yeah, you also need to do a lot of risk evaluation and management. You know, you need to be sure that, hey, this vendor is not putting my business at risk, right? This vendor has the necessary licenses. I mean, if you're in Nigeria, you'll not be worried that EFCC will come and pick you up in your house one day because you are pretty much using a certain vendor. So some of those things you need to do like proper risk evaluation and management to be sure that everything like your relationship, all of those things are in check and nobody's running about when things get really hot, right? Before any form of vendor, bringing a vendor on board, you must have agreed on SLAs and whatnot, right? But you can't actually measure what you don't track. So let's put it in two sections. First, if you're an organization, you don't track anything regarding your vendors, you need to start tracking. Secondly, if you're an organization that you track things regarding your vendors, then I guess it makes it a lot easier. A very good example would be that imagine I'm using a vendor that helps me, let's say in this case, CSC, right? Just like some form of validation, business validations for me. And I'm sending 100 requests, right? I expect that because I have like a local copy of this, I'm tracking all the requests I'm sending, right? I can easily know. I track, how many did I send successfully? How many did I get acknowledgement for? I can easily know when something isn't right? How long is it taking for for my request to get processed. I'm tracking the time I sent it, the time I received it, the time I'm receiving a response from my vendor. Is it affecting my business model? Is it affecting my customer? Customers complaining that, hey, this thing is taking too long now. What's going on, right? You are guaranteeing me 2 days, but it's taking 1 week. These are some of the things. Then you have like pretty much like a dashboard, right? Using maybe Grafana to measure the request sent, the success rates, and all of that. But there are also things that you'd like to measure, maybe like application uptime, right? I'm thinking of, I'm using like a payment processor, and 50% of the time, anytime I try to process payments, it's failing, right? So these are some of the things that we can use to sort of track and measure. I mean, maybe you can use New Relic for tracking service level type of data, right? How fast, what's the response time? How fast is my vendor responding to my API calls? What's their uptime? Is it impeding my application speed and all of that, those kind of things? So like I said, if you don't track, please start tracking. If you already tracked, it already makes it easier. I think then you can now start thinking of how much more can I track, right? What kind of information am I interested in tracking, right? What is interesting or particular to my own business use case, right? So yeah. One mistake would probably be poor security risk analysis, right? This vendor I'm using, it's a vendor renowned for being a good vendor, right? And what's at the risk of even moving my data to, I mean, a third party solution, right? Is it worth just leaving it on my own system, right? Don't let me, I don't want to talk about like DBs where we're not start thinking about, oh, do we want on-prem or cloud and all of that. Let's just say I'm managing, I have the flexibility to do all that, right? So poor analysis actually can lead to vulnerabilities and legal fines. I mean, if you are if you are doing something that is not right, in fintech, maybe CBN can give you some fines, depending on your health tech, whatnot, right? You can probably get some fines, and your business can actually really shut down your business and whatnot, right? You now need to like also consider what are the pros, right, and cons of this using this vendor. Do I need to use this vendor? Is this vendor licensed to do things? To do things like this. If it's not licensed, I can as well just, try. If I have the money and I have the time and I have the skill, I can try to build it. If not, then I need to figure out what I can do, right? Poor cost analysis as well. Do not be deceived by the front, right? Don't be deceived by the immediate, right? A lot of vendors push things to you. So you know what? Hey, we're giving you, it's cheaper, right? 50, you're currently using 100 gig, we will give you 500 SSD, and at this rate, think about it, it's cheaper. But you need to do proper homework, right? Is this thing actually cheaper in the long run? Like, think about maintenance costs, think about development cost, integration cost, right? All of those things, right? You need to do a proper cost analysis. So if, a mistake to avoid, definitely poor cost analysis and jumping into conclusion. Another one would be tight coupling and dependency. Don't build your business around the vendor. Do not do that. What happens if the vendor shuts down tomorrow? Does your business automatically shut down? You need to have an exit strategy, basically. You need to be able to exist without your vendor, right? Even if your vendor shuts down, you need to be able to move to another vendor easily. Don't tightly couple your system around the vendor. And avoid poor time analysis. Poor analysis can lead to long integrations, can lead to delayed time to market. So be very clear and sure that this thing we are doing, if we build it, it will be better off, right? And we'll spend 6 months building it. I would also do a quick recap to what we also did at Moniepoint, with Moniepoint mobile app, right? Where we actually, I mean, it was, we built like the mobile app. I'm not sure if people saw that. We built it in like some, I can't remember, I think 6 months and all of that. And we could afford to do that because I mean we had the skill sets. Maybe we didn't really have the time, but yeah, I mean, and then there was also great. But I mean, it's just an example, right? So you need to be sure that what we are trying to do, we can actually do it within the time given. You don't want a situation where you you guarantee your customers that hey, in 2 days or in 1 month, we are doing a migration or whatnot. In 1 month, sorry, in 1 week, everything will be fine. You'll be able to see your balances. But at the end of 1 week, hey, my balance is not showing up, right? Everybody starts to panic. Is this company shutting down? Where's my money? You know how things can be, right? I mean, everywhere. It's not even just in Africa. Like I think everywhere, right? Just need to be able to make sure that what you're estimating or what you're doing is actually going to be completed at this particular point in time. Am I better off just building it and ensuring that it will finish by this time? Or am I better off giving it to a vendor that I know will finish it faster than I'll do it, right? So just also need to just do some time analysis, right? So you anticipate that you grow bigger than your vendor, and you are not thinking of vendors that might give you the best impact at the best cost, right? Let's say, okay, at that point in time, you can't even afford those guys, right? Build a scalable architecture, like I mentioned, or flexible architecture that at the point where you are now, we can now afford those guys, right? And then you have a lot more requests or more in this case, let's say throughput, right? You have more of that. You need to be able to switch to a vendor that can cater to your needs. But if you also cannot, as a business, you have more requests, but you can't afford to scale, then I think that's a business, then that's a challenge, right? Because you need to be able to scale with your business needs to scale with your customers, right? And at the end of the day, you need to figure out how the best way to go in terms of doing things like that. So summary is, at this point in time, I envision that I'll start getting 1 million requests, right? Okay, I'm getting 1,000, vendor A can fulfill it. Why not? I'll work with vendor A, but I build an architecture that can make me easily cut over from vendor A to B, right? So in future, by the time I have the money, I have the bandwidth to be able to do that. I easily just cut over to vendor B. Do you want to build your own relational database? Do you want to build your own cloud infrastructure? Do you want to build your own payment provider? Is that your business objective? So like I said, think about it as a business, from a business standpoint, right? At this point in time of my business, what are the things that I can afford and I can't afford to do? And there are some things that you don't even want to worry about. There's a solution, there's a support group, there's a community that manages issues like that, right? You don't want to start reinventing the wheel. Trust me, like in engineering, so there's always there's something like dry, right? I think, is it dry, right? Don't repeat yourself. Yes, don't repeat yourself. Don't do the same thing. Like I don't advise that. And if there's something that you think that there's a vendor that would give you as much support as you need, and your business is not necessarily that side of things, this is not necessarily your business objective or concern, sure, why not? Go ahead and integrate with vendors that provide that. But if there's like a business side of things and you think that you are going to grow to start being competitive in that market, then it's fine to integrate first and scale, right? And then you can do a cut over whenever you need to. think my closing thoughts would be like a summary, right, of everything I've said earlier, right? And when building in-house and when making like in-house and vendor trade-offs, right, you need to be, it always depends, right? I'm sorry if I've said it always depends a lot, but with product, it always does depend on your use case, right? It's never really a one shoe fits all. Um, so you need to be sure at this point in time, right? What do I need, right? Is this what's going to be beneficial for my business? Can I afford it cost-wise? Can I afford to wait, right? Do I have the skill set? Am I worried about security? Am I worried about maintenance? So like you need to just, I mean, worry. There are some things that you just need to think around, right? An example, if you're an early stage, right, you need to do your homework very well, evaluate your finances, do any form of compliance checks you need to do and whatnot, right? Another thing might be, like I said, regarding the point you're at as a business. There are some points that might be mission critical, right? Where you don't even have the time to say, hey, I'm going to build. Do you understand? And then it might even cost you more, but you have a guarantee that this vendor, well, let me say a guarantee, but let's say 99% guarantee that this vendor would solve my challenge for me and would do. I mean, why not? 100% go for it, right? As long as the business impact, right, outweighs, let not necessarily outweighs, like as long as the business impact is significant enough, right? So it always just depends on what point you are. At every point in time as a business or as an organization. And then one final thing is you can't run away from vendors. I don't think you can build it. You can't build everything. Every business has their goals, sort of like let's say North Star and where they are going, right? And at the end of the day, yeah, you are going in the direction of your business. So there are some things that you just leave subject level experts to handle, and some things that you worry about if, oh, should I build this or should I not build this? Is it important for me to build this at this point in time? How quickly can this help me scale my business and move forward and support my customers better?